One of the reasons artworks are so interesting is that they seem to live a life of their own, a life that endures longer than ours. The recent conservation of the Dayton Art Institute's painting, Sea, Cranes, and Peaches, is a good example of this. How did this monumental Korean screen painting end up in Dayton, Ohio, in the Midwest of the United States? How did it almost disappear, only to receive new life again? I would like to trace some of this journey for you, as well as give you a brief introduction to the Korean art collection in Dayton. First, on behalf of the Dayton Art Institute, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the many organizations and individuals who made the conservation and exhibition of this painting possible. These include the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation, Gochang Conservation Institute of Cultural Properties, the National Palace Museum, Comsco, D2 Communications, and the many scholars who have invested their time in learning more about this painting, as well as presenting at this symposium. Another wonderful thing about artworks is that they have the power and potential to connect people from very different places and backgrounds. Collaborating with so many wonderful people on this project has been a delight. In 2019, the Dayton Art Institute celebrated its 100th anniversary. Located in the southwest corner of Ohio, it is an encyclopedic art collection of over 26,000 artworks. And, from the earliest years, Korean art has been part of the collection. The first recorded Korean artwork is a scroll painting attributed to Kim Hong-do that depicts quails, sparrows, and plum blossoms. It came to the museum in 1933. The collection has since grown to almost 70 objects, ranging from the 5th century to the 20th century. It was from 1969 that the collection really started to develop, with donations from local philanthropist Virginia W. Kettering, who is most responsible for making the Korean collection what it is today. In the 1970s, 31 artworks were received by the museum, almost half the collection. In total, Virginia Kettering donated 42 artworks, but she also provided funds for 5 museum purchases, which makes her responsible for almost 75% of the collection. Virginia Kettering traveled extensively through Asia from 1955 to 1967, making at least 11 trips, and among these, she visited Korea at least 3 times. Museum records have limited information on the provenance of Kettering's collection. At least 4 Korean ceramics, including this iron black glazed bottle, were purchased by Kettering at the Japanese gallery Mayuyama and Company. There is also an invoice of several Celadon ceramics purchased in Korea from an H.M. Chung. The Dayton collection includes works from different time periods and in different materials. And in keeping with the museum's goal of being encyclopedic, there are examples from all the major periods of Korean history. Likewise, the kinds of objects vary, but ceramics form the backbone of the collection, almost 2/3. Earthenware from the Three Kingdoms and Unified Shilla periods include variously shaped bowls and jars. And the decorative patterns range from simple, minimal decorations such as striations to later works with intensive stamped decorations. Jumping to the Chosun period, there are examples of porcelain, such as this open-work brush holder with banana leaf designs, as well as some with underglaze blue decoration, such as this square-shaped bottle with plum blossoms, banana leaves, bamboo, and chrysanthemums. 18 Goryeo Celadon vessels make up 28% of the entire Korean collection. They cover the range of Celadon hues and represent the variety of decorative techniques. 11 include black and white inlaid decoration. The shapes range from large bowls and bottles such as one decorated with a spray of chrysanthemum flowers, to small vessels, including a water dropper in the shape of a turtle. The Dayton Art Institute is currently reinstalling our Art of Korea gallery with generous support from the National Museum of Korea. I hope you will have the opportunity to visit the museum and see our Korean art collection in person someday. Now, I want to turn our attention to the Sea, Cranes, and Peaches painting. Dayton only has a handful of Korean paintings, so we were excited when this changed, thanks to the re-identification of this magnificent screen painting. The painting was donated to the museum in 1941 by Mary Marvin Breckinridge Patterson, shortly after her marriage to Jefferson Patterson. Patterson was a career United States diplomat and a key supporter of the Dayton Art Institute. Breckinridge arranged for the donation via telegrams and letters as she traveled to Peru for Patterson's next government appointment. According to her, quote, "The screen was bought by my uncle, Charles C. Goodrich, in the late 1920s, and I never knew much about it except that it was very decorative. He rebuilt his drawing room so that it took up most of one wall without any interruption by doors. My uncle died in 1932, and recently his things have been offered for sale, with the Near family having first choice, and I immediately thought of your museum as being a suitable and, I hope, interested place to give it." Charles Cross Goodrich, who she mentions, was the son of B.F. Goodrich, the tire industry pioneer. At this point, it still cannot be determined where Goodrich acquired the painting. A graduate of Harvard College, in an alumni report, Goodrich states he visited Korea and Japan in 1912, but if Breckinridge's note is accurate, it would have been too early for him to acquire the painting on this trip. Most likely, it was purchased in the United States. When the painting came to the museum, it was first identified as Japanese, probably due to the use of gold leaf and perhaps some of the subject matter, such as the cranes. However, in 1958, the art historian Sherman Lee visited the museum and re-identified it as Chinese, 16th to 17th century, adding, quote, "not important as a painting, handsome, not many around," end quote. The painting was displayed in the Asian galleries at the Dayton Art Institute for many years, but has been off view for decades due to condition issues. Throughout, experts who saw the painting considered it large and decorative, but not particularly important or outstanding. Why might this be? Perhaps because they were judging it according to the standard of Japanese and Chinese screen paintings from earlier periods they were familiar with, when the painting is in reality from a different culture and time. In 2007, Tokyo University photographed Dayton's entire Chinese painting collection as part of a publication of Chinese paintings in American collections. They included this one due to the attribution at the time. That is how it came to the attention of Dr. Misato Ito. In September 2017, Dr. Ito and Dr. Soo-jin Kim visited Dayton to examine the painting firsthand as part of a broader research project they were working on of screen painting across Korea, China, and Japan. After seeing it, they suggested the painting is most likely Korean, based on a number of factors. These include the large size, over 2 meters high by 7 meters wide, the use of silk rather than paper as a painting surface, the theme of the 10 symbols of longevity, and the 12-screen format. The painting was remounted on 6 flat panels sometime before it came to the museum. One of the most unusual features of the painting is the use of gold leaf, but gold leaf squares that are smaller than those typically found on Japanese screens. Based on this feature, along with some of the subject matter, the painting bears closest resemblance to Cranes and Peaches at the Honolulu Museum of Art, which Soo-jin Kim has argued was made for an imperial commission in 1902. That painting was later in the collection of Tomita Gisaku, who ran business in Korea in the early 1900s. but liquidated his large Korean art collection in 1926 through the dealer Yamanaka and Company. The Honolulu screen was acquired by the museum's founder Anna Rice Cook from the New York store of Yamanaka and Company in June of 1927. About the same time, Charles Cross Goodrich reportedly purchased Dayton's painting. Goodrich had a home near New York City, so it is tempting to think he might have purchased the screen from a dealer there, perhaps even Yamanaka and Company. However, no investigations of Yamanaka sales from the 1920s have turned up anything yet. This remains an unsolved mystery that requires more investigation. In July 2018, I presented some information on this painting at a colloquium at the National Museum of Korea, and that brought the painting to the attention of the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation, who subsequently met with several experts in Korea to discuss the painting further, confirming it is most likely early 20th century and related to the Korean court in some way. It was also through this fortuitous meeting with the foundation that the conversation about collaborating on conservation of the painting got started. Because the painting was separated from the support in numerous places and had several tears, making it impossible to display safely. In November 2018, a team of researchers visited and further examined the painting, and in spring 2019, we were honored to receive a conservation grant from the foundation. So, in June of 2019, the painting was placed in a custom-made crate and shipped to Korea, where it has since been given new life. More details on the conservation process are presented elsewhere in this symposium. Stories like this in museums are not uncommon. Objects misidentified, damaged, stored, forgotten. But it only takes a small thing, a conversation, an email, a photo discovered, to set in motion an exciting journey of rediscovery. As the Dayton Art Institute begins our next century, we are delighted and grateful that this outstanding example of Korean artwork is preserved for future generations. Perhaps in some way it can remind us that no matter where we may go or what we may go through, we can always find our way home. Thank you.